All right, we are here in my VermiHut indoor worm bin, and we have had major issues in here. And the first thing I need to do is get this thing out right now. This right here is a piece of tofu that absolutely smells disgusting, and it is a worm killer. And oh my gosh, we just have to get it out. So let me show you what went wrong with this time lapse right here. So this morning when we did that last filming of the time lapse, we accidentally dropped a worm right on that tofu from the side here, and it immediately started to violently wiggle around and eventually made its way off. When I checked on the bin again, it was dead. I lifted it up and it was completely dead. So then I went back through the time lapse, and let me show you what I saw. This area right here in the front and around the tofu didn't move at all, whereas you could see the worms everywhere else kind of moving around the cardboard and eating on the different banana peels that we had here. And when we were doing some of the earlier days of the time lapse, we noticed that this banana over here and this part had gotten eaten, and this one took a little bit longer. We didn't really think anything of it. We knew they had food underneath, but what was happening was the worms had a barrier right here where they did not cross, and this banana peel right here was part of it. So what I'm gonna do is kind of take this section of the worm bin out, and we're gonna see if there's any worms in there, and we are just gonna get rid of it because I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's acidic, if it's fermenting. The executive producer right now is backing up because it just smells horrible. Just imagine the worst breath that someone has ever had in your life, and that's what it smells like. In fact, when we did the first couple of time lapse, we both thought that the other might have some bad breath until we both discovered that it wasn't us, it was the worm bin. And look at that, I'm not seeing a single worm here. So clearly do not put tofu in your worm bin. This was some tofu that we had. We were making some spring rolls, and it just had been sitting in our refrigerator for a while, so I threw it in the freezer and then I threw it in here. This is really odd. I mean, there are no worms in this section at all. I wonder if any of them were here and just kind of died. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I've never seen anything like this, and I've had this bin running for
there's a
4
worm.
years. Oh, you found a worm?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe right there. And I imagine, like, see how this is like a circle here, or I'm sorry, a sphere? It probably reaches down there too, so maybe underneath there aren't any worms. I'm gonna lift it up and we're gonna see if maybe there's a gap. I'm not gonna be able to see it, but you guys will. So let's kind of look underneath.
There are worms around, but not in that area.
Not in that circle. Wow.
Oh, watch out, you're dumping.
Okay.
Oh, I see some.
Okay. So I'll go back and look at the film, but that is not good. So let this kind of be, a lesson that I learned for you not to put tofu in. And if any of you have any ideas what it could be, I don't know if tofu goes acidic or if it's salty, that kind of thing, but clearly my worms do not like processed food. And look at that, right here, I'm getting lots of worms. In fact, let's just dig in so you see what it should look like when I dig into my worm bin. See all that? That should be the same right here. In fact, we'll come over here to the top of the worm bin and, kind of get the mirror image of what's right there. And look at that. I pull up some material and there's worms inside of it right here. So clearly the worms avoided this. Hopefully most of them avoided it and didn't get kind of poisoned by whatever was there. But I think, this right here is going to go into my compost pile or my trash. I'll just have to decide which. But I am never, ever gonna do that again. And this over here was where the cherries were. In fact, in that time lapse, the last cherry and the last strawberry were not touched for a very long time. So let's go ahead and dig in and see how they did on the feeding that was in here. And we did put a lot of coffee, and I'm seeing a lot of coffee grounds in there. And right here looks like a pretty good mass of worms right there. Very cool. Not quite a worm ball, but definitely a mass of worms. They're all in and out of that coffee and whatever was right there. Check it out. Very cool.
Pepper.
And right there, pepper. Yep, pepper filled with coffee grounds. So let's go ahead and review what we put in here last. We started off with dry shredded cardboard, and then we added a layer of spinach leaves and put banana peels on top of them. Next, we added some strawberries and squished cherries. Finally, we put down that huge red pepper along with our amendments of worm chow, lots of spent coffee grounds, and pulverized eggshell grit. And we're definitely seeing some of the peppers in there. Let's see if we see any of that other stuff. I don't think we're going to see that spinach. In the time lapse, you saw that it disappeared pretty quickly. This right here is a banana stem, kind of the top of the stem, and there's a worm right inside of it. Let's come over to this side over here and see how it's doing. Whoa! Check it out. Lots of worms right there. And this, what is that? Oh, that's the banana peel. Yeah, they will eat the fleshy part pretty quick, and then the peel, the outside of it, they kind of leave a little bit longer, and they're still working on this pepper. So they definitely had a lot of food between what was here and then what was on the very top. We are just going to give them a little bit smaller feeding. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up everything. I want to mix it up real good so that the parts that are kind of left over here get mixed all around, and the parts over here, oh, that's good. There's worms in this corner. Oh, it did. It just created like a ball right here of deadness. Hopefully they just avoided it. I actually had a heat issue in a worm bin a long time ago, and the worms on the surface kind of were going after the food, but they just kind of went right to like almost like an event horizon around the food where the heat was just too much for them. I put some food that heated up, and our air conditioner went out in the middle of the summer, so it was like 93 or 4 degrees in the house, and probably something like that in the worm bin as well. So I'm just going to finish up mixing right here.
What's crazy is how smart they are to stay away from stuff that's not good for them.
So there we go. We've made a good trough. And as I was doing that, the executive producer made a very astute observation. And she just talked about how amazing it was that the worms avoided that tofu all the way from the beginning. Because even from the very first frame, we saw that the tofu wasn't touched, but also that they had formed an area that they didn't even go near. So we're going to continue to bulk up this bin, and we're going to do that by adding a bunch of dry shredded cardboard here. And in this bin that has a lid, I don't worry too much about having to dampen the cardboard. These worm towers do a great job of moderating the moisture. So here's what we had in mind to feed. We've got some previously frozen food. We've got some spinach and various fruit over here. And I want to give them something easy because I kind of put them through the ringer there. And we're going to start with the spinach. And one of the things I wanted to show you is when you freeze your food, the cells in the vegetables expand, breaking their cell walls, and that helps to physically break them down, and it helps them to release their liquid. So I always like to freeze all my food scraps. And then we'll add in some broccoli stalks along with some blueberries here, and another real easy thing for them, a lettuce stalk, along with an apple. And over here we'll put a peach that'll just kind of break up like that. And then we'll add in some strawberries that they really go through pretty quickly. A couple more, and then maybe just one banana peel. So this feeding should be good for them for maybe another 10 to 14 days. And by the time we check in on them, just some of the hard things or the outside layer of this broccoli that might take them a little bit longer and is a slow food might be left, such as this banana peel right here as well. The rest of the stuff in here is pretty fast food for them, and they will eat it much quicker. I'm just going to give them a little bit of coffee grounds because they have a lot in here already. And then we'll go in with some pulverized eggshell grit. The worms use this in their digestive tract to break down the foods that they eat, and it also is good for my garden. All right, I'll top it off with just a little bit of shredded cardboard. It's important that you always add more bedding with your food when you feed them because the worms live within that bedding and they also eat the bedding. So if you accidentally skip a feeding or something comes up and you just can't get to your worm bin, they'll have plenty of food to eat because they're eating what they're living in. So perfect, just like that. I am so sorry, worms. Now you can go in that hole. I'm just going to top it off with some of the paper towels that I've been using to wipe my hands off in between coming in and out of the bin. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this shows you that maybe tofu isn't the best idea for your worm bin. If you've fed tofu and haven't had a problem, or if you have had a problem, either way, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see another worm bin feeding where I made a huge mistake with a whole pumpkin in my urban worm bag, check out this video right here. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing fantastic and much better than this one did. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care. Oh yeah, this nasty thing is going right in the garbage.